Hello and welcome to the Intel Brief. Today is Thursday, 25 September. I'm your host Daniel, and today we're going to talk about Ukraine has restored diplomatic ties to Syria. A man in the UK was arrested over cyber attacks that affected European airports. And Rubio meets with Russia's Lavrov after Trump's shift on the Russia-Ukraine war. So firstly, Ukraine and Syria have officially restored diplomatic relations after a meeting between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and the Syrian interim president Ahmed al-Shah at the United Nations General Assembly. Zelensky stated that they signed a joint communiqué on the restorations of relations on September the 24th. Al-Shah called for the lifting of sanctions on Syria during his speech at the UN General Assembly, marking his nation's first presidential-level participation in nearly 60 years. The discussions included opportunities for cooperation and security threats, with a commitment to build relations based on mutual respect and trust. So what? There has been a bit of, back when the Syrian revolution was happening, there was a bit of reporting around Ukraine providing support in the realm of training and drone technology. So it's unsurprising that if that was true, that these two are now pretty close together. They both have an anti-Russian ideals. So it's unsurprising to see that, the enemy of my enemy is my friend type of business going on. What this means long term is unknown, but hopefully things can improve for Syria. It's definitely one to keep an eye on because, despite al-Shah claiming he's, a changed man, he has been a member of Al-Qaeda and ISIS in the past. So how he feels about foreigners and non-Muslims is probably quite radical. And next, a man in his 40s has been arrested in West Sussex over a cyber attack that disrupted major airports, including Heathrow and Brussels, over the weekend, according to the National Crime Agency, who released him on condition of bail. Disruptions began on Friday, causing significant delays and cancellations of flights as airlines struggled with manual check-in procedures. The Deputy Director, Paul Foster of the NCA, stated that the arrest is a positive step, but the investigations remain ongoing. Brussels Airport reported 50 outbound cancellation flights on Sunday, with an additional nearly 140 cancellations on Monday due to follow-on disruptions. So what? I kind of posted about this last night, and the way I kind of look at it is there's multiple reasons people conduct cyber attacks. There's monetary gain, there's boredom, and then there's to support state-based ideas. It doesn't appear that there's links to a state-based ideology here, but it's also likely that this man wasn't acting alone. Additionally, he seems a bit old to be in it for the fun. These are the types of hackers that you would see, they are quite young, they grow up playing video games, and that's how they got into it. And now they just mess with people to see if they can, and just because it's risky and exciting. So it seems likely that him and his unknown associates were doing this for monetary gain. But yeah, we have to keep an eye on who else gets arrested and where it goes from here, whether he turns on his accomplices or whether the NCA can identify them. And lastly, the Secretary of State Marco Rubio met with the Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov at the United Nations General Assembly, discussing the conflict in Ukraine and calling for a ceasefire, as reported by the US State Department. Rubio warned of potential escalation in the conflict during his address at the Security Council, emphasizing the need for action against Russia. Lavrov indicated Russia's willingness to work on resolutions already agreed upon, blaming Ukraine and European leaders for prolonging the conflict. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky expressed frustration with the UN Security Council structure and highlighted the pressing reality of war affecting many nations during his speech at the assembly. So what? Zelensky's spot on with this. The way the UN Security Council is structured and Russia's position on it means that nothing will ever happen when it comes to the war in Ukraine, because Russia would just veto any kind of resolution as a permanent member. And yeah, they can just continue to do whatever the fuck they want. However, that doesn't change the reality and that the US is turning against them in a big way. What that actually means and how that's going to play out and how long Trump keeps this idea for, nobody knows. Not even Trump, probably. But yeah, ideally Ukraine can keep up their active defense. The summer offensives that Russia were planning don't seem to have gone very well, and Ukraine seems to have done a pretty good job in defending against them, as well as continuing to damage Russian economic infrastructure and oil infrastructure. So we're going back into another period of low intensity conflict, lower intensity conflict, without any significant breakthroughs by Russia. So there's just a lot more people, a lot more equipment, a lot more money they've thrown at this for nothing again. And we continue. Thank you for listening to the Intel Brief. I've been your host, Daniel, and I'll see you again tomorrow. See you.